Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it is Your Impact Attack, and we really wish you would take it with you. We're done with Impact. We're tired of Impact. Impact is it's not making an impact these days. But you know what? I wouldn't miss the show. I would miss Impact every week if it wasn't for this, the Impact Attack, and you guys, which make the show, which make our day, which make our week. And the VBC is cooking with gas tonight. And who's the VBC? I'm the V in the VBC, the vet Jamie Williams. Here's the hot tag to Brandon, the B in the BBC. Brandon, oh my God, he's coming in. Hip toss, body slam, drop kick. What's up, Brandon?
Not much, man. Just, another Impact Attack. Whoop, whoop.
That's right. Just another Impact Attack. And we couldn't do it without the C and the VBC. That's the chat. It's formerly the Colin. Now it's the chat. Who do we have with us tonight, this evening, as we speak?
Let's see who's rocking with us tonight. We got Chris Winnan in the house. We got Javi Uchiha. We got the secretary herself for HMG, the official Liz, Canada Spaceman. We got Lab Rat. We got Al Robinson. How you doing, sir? Good to see you. Whoop, whoop.
That's right. It's all wonderful people. A veritable murderer's row of legends in the Hameen Media group. Before we get too far, I want to, because sometimes I forget, but right now, as we see Chris Winland here, I would like to start off with his question from X tonight that he asked to us. And he says, question, if you could manage one male and one female from any brand, who would you pick and what could they improve on that they don't already offer? And he also adds that he loves the show, which we love that you love it. Thank you very much, Chris, for the question, your patronage, your time. That's a good question, Brandon. It's not something I spend a lot of time thinking about. I will just I'll start with this and then I'll pass it to you and then maybe I will come around again, because it's not the answer to the question, but a lot of times I do think about what it would be like to be the sort of, like, I don't want to be like the booker. I don't want to be involved in booking, writing, those type of things. But I would like to be the type of person, what I would love more than anything is to be the type of person that is there to just sort of be the hands-on with the talent and help them with things that they may need, but not so much stuff they need from me, but stuff I'm as an overseer and pointing things out, like the things I always talk about, the things that I say here on the show, or, the advice that I give that I wonder if anybody ever hears, those type of things. Like, I would love to sit down and really help people out with their characters, or their whatever advice I might have for little tricks in between the ropes or things that they could improve upon. I would love to do that for several different people that I've mentioned over the years of podcasting here at HMG. But I never really thought about, I assume that Chris's question is like referring to, like, if we were like a Bobby Heenan or a Jimmy Hart or a Jim Cornette or a, like that kind of manager, like who would we like to be, like a floor, like a second, who would we like to do that for? I assume he means that, and not like a shoot manager. Although some of those guys were shoot managers. Like, sometimes when a guy was a manager, he really did take care of the guy that he was managing, like book his hotels and flights and, cars and all that stuff, and, handle the bags and everything. Like, some of those guys did really manage, so, but that's the question I think he wants to know. So what do you think, Brandon? Have you ever thought about who in today's landscape you might be a good manager for?
Oh, I mean, with all due respect to Paul Ellering and everything that he's done, first thing that comes to mind for male is Karrion Kross.
Mm. Mm. And now he has what you would call a valet, I suppose. Um, and yeah, then he's also got the sort of, again, with all due respect to Paul Ellering, the sort of like superficial presence of a Paul Ellering. Um, so yeah, so would you like to manage the entire what are they called? Final Testament or just carrying across?
Either or. I mean, I think like it could be presented in a way where, you know, you know, like he can have like, his manager, his mouth, his, official mouthpiece. And then when Carrie needs to speak, he'll speak. And when he does, it actually means a lot more. And then Scarlett's kind of like, the inspiration, the muse, and that all just kind of works and synchronizes together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what you're saying is you want a piece of that.
I ain't getting no, I ain't fucking with that.
All right. All right. Well, let's say we had Todd Brantley join us. And good to see you, Todd. I'm very sorry, but we'll be here for you whenever you need. So take care of what you got to take care of, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks for stopping by.
Much love to you, man. Hope man, that's never easy, man. It's never easy. Um, thinking about you, love you, always appreciate you, and just all the love and support to you, and hope you get through this, and look forward to seeing you again.
Also, I appreciate and accept your condolences on Ethan Page being the new NXT champion. That was also just a very devastating blow to everyone. We're all very sad to hear about that. We'll take that one day at a time as well. Like just trying to figure out how we're gonna make it through with Ethan Page representing a developmental brand because he couldn't win a real belt anywhere else. It's just rough, but we'll do it together as a HMG family. That's what we'll do.
Oh yeah, and that's something else that happened during Raws. It's been being teased like Rhea might show up tonight.
She is coming.
Yeah, they had a
She
thing
is
where it's
coming.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, they did a bit where Damien like put like looked at his phone and put it to his ears like, "Oh, you're coming?"
Mm. Well, now that she got that pesky wedding out of the way, maybe she could go back to work. So, but yeah. Um. So yeah. So carrying across, good answer. That's a person. What about? Is there possibly a female talent? He said one male, one female. Like, is there any ladies out there that you see could use some branding guidance in a totally appropriate and professional way, of course.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, when I get maybe Naomi, because she has everything else, like her talking, that's her weak point.
Mm,
Everything else she nails.
okay. Um. Yeah. So thinking about it, uh, I think I would like to be. I would like to manage. Well, Moose would be an obvious layup. I mean, he does so many things right. That it's not that he needs much, but that little bit that he does need, I don't know where he would pick that up. I don't know who would tell him those things. So I would certainly take it upon myself to do those things. And I have here, like on the show, like I talked about, the rare occasions where I need to give Moose some counseling, I would do that. Um, on a more consistent basis. because he's got everything already and he doesn't need anything else. But hey, why not? Why not take the finely polished sculpture and just, you know, get the rag out and add a little more polish just so it's a little extra shiny, I guess. Um, as for
Basically maintaining the statue of David.
basically, yeah, right. I mean, you just if you can make it look any little bit better, that's what you do. Now as far as the women's side, probably a lot. It's probably a lot of women I'd like to, and I don't mean this obviously as a salacious way, but I see so many. When I watch wrestling, I actually find the females more entertaining, but not in the reason that you might think. It's because like watching guy wrestlers do it at a high level for so long, it's like, okay, well, I've seen the best of the best, and it's hard to live up to some of the greats of the past, but the women have like room to grow as far as like actual, you know, in-ring performers. So I look at them with that more developmental eye of like, women's wrestling is still on the evolution path, right? Like it's still something that up until even 10 years ago was like a joke. It was like pillow fights and pudding matches and shit like that. It's like now they're being taken more seriously. So now when I see those matches, I see a lot more opportunity in the matches. I'm like, oh, if only, because they're not, they haven't been doing this as long. So it's more interesting as a viewer for me to see like that aspect of it, if that makes sense. Um, and so there's that. With that being said, there would be like a plethora of women that I see a lot of potential in, and most of them are like right, like just right there on the precipice of greatness. But as far as like if you're grading on a curve, like they're already at greatness compared to what's been in the past, right? So, um, but like as a name that Todd Brantley mentioned, Dark Roxanne. Like she's really really good, but not so good that she still couldn't, like Moose, just have like a little extra polish in there. Um, and another one that it's kind of funny. Actually I've been telling you guys. You guys have heard me talking about the CMLL um, women's champion Stephanie Vaquer, who had a match at Forbidden Door last week, and I just see this article here, um, and you guys know I've been hyping her up for some time, and I see this article here as of 5:42 p.m. Eastern today. WWE and AEW both reportedly interested in top CMLL star following Forbidden Door. And I was like, oh, who is that? Mystico? Uh, is it perhaps Hechicero? No. Apparently, according to uh, Mexican outlet record, both AEW and WWE have offered her multi-year deals already.
Wow. I I
Even though she's under contract with CMLL, by the way. That's what they're reporting.
I mean, depending on what her contract currently is and the fact that it's, international, I'm sure it's very possible there could be a way that they could work out a deal with an American company. Okay, she can come over here and work with you, at these dates, as long as she honors these dates. Again, that's all speculation. We don't know. Who knows?
Sure. Mm. And
But like, yeah, I personally haven't seen any of her work, but the fact that off of one match with Mercedes Moné and everybody's talking about her after that tells you all you need to know.
oh yeah, I mean, dude, I saw the match she had with Mercedes the night Mercedes broke her foot. I mean, she didn't break her foot in that match, but she wrestled twice that night because it was like a mini tournament. So she had to get past Stephanie in the first round to get to Willow in the main event. and but I'd already even that's not even the first time I'd seen Stephanie. So I just look at her, and it's much like Julia, where I look at her and I'm just like, yes, give this woman money, please, because the rest can be worked out. We can we could tune up the wrestling skills. We can work on the language. Like we could do all that, but you need this woman now before somebody else gets her, because this is what women's wrestling needs, is people that are clearly taking it seriously like this. So, Stephanie Vaquer and Julia are two
Just
women that I was like, sign them, and you already know WWE's interested in her. But it just so happens they're both really good. But even if they weren't, if you just look at them, I'm like, there's something. The same way Jade Cargill, I guess people look
just
at her.
just pure raw untapped talent that's ready to just be molded and built upon.
Yep. And just so happens that I didn't see this, but Chris Winland, I'm just looking now, said, one more question. Julia in WWE, where might she go? Will they book her properly? The answer is she will go anywhere. The answer to will they book her properly is probably not. I don't know if anybody knows how to book Julia, but it's hard to mess up. So I will say I'm cautiously optimistic about that. But that brings up another point to sort of answer Chris's first question, as far as like, as a manager, like as a legit managing manager where you take care of things, like people like that are coming from other countries, to adjust to certain things, whatever might be different as far as like working and traveling in the States and everything. Like Stephanie's going to have to get like work visas and other paperwork sorted out before she could even think about signing full time in an American company right now. But same thing with Julia, I'm sure. But once that transition happens, there are certain, the whatever the cultural differences in the wrestling atmosphere, just what certain crowds may like, or certain regional areas are into, or just little things like that, or language barriers, like I would speak enough Spanish and Japanese to sort of, we could probably figure it out to communicate, so I could help them with certain things and they could teach me certain things about, whatever in Spanish and Japanese that I don't know. So, something like that would be a fun, like to be like a liaison, sort of a handler, the way Sonny Ono was for guys that were coming in from New Japan to WCW in the 90s and stuff like that. Like that would be something I would like to do. So and if there's any, same thing with male talents, like if there's guys that I think would be big stars from other countries, I'd like to help acclimate them in whatever way possible to help them get over. Canada Spaceman says the vet would be the best manager. I can't make him crack up in laughter, apparently. Stone Cold manager with the bionic grip, hands on the wrestlers. That's right. So yeah, I mean that's what I would say. I hope that I'm glad that you asked that question, because it gave us a few things to talk about. There's stuff to talk about in the news right now. None of it do I particularly care that much, but you guys might. So I don't know, Brandon. What happened this weekend, or anything lately that we should talk about?
There was this one thing that kind of went viral after at the very end of the NXT Heat Wave. I think it went something like this.
Whoa! Say his name.
Of course, without the headset falling off.
Right.
Of course,
he doesn't wear a headset. Yeah, apparently something like that happened. Now, when I go back and try to look at it, I can't find it, but like not on the broadcast, not on the official Peacock broadcast, which goes off the air. The replay goes off the air with Ethan Page holding the belt up, and the bootleg feed goes off the air in the same spot. So I didn't even know like what really. I didn't see the clip. So like, would you had to have been watching live to see it? Is that how it went down?
I think so, because it was like literally as soon as like it's showing Ethan Page holding the belt, it starts fading to black, and all of a sudden it shows just the thing of Joe Hendry, him turning around and the white screen, and then it just ends.
I didn't even see that. And I was looking for it. I specifically went to look for it because I haven't watched Heat Wave yet, and I didn't know. So, but I heard people talking about it, and I saw some Twitter rumblings. So I just, well, okay. So a Joe Hendry tease. Saw an article saying that apparently WWE has big plans for Joe Hendry, whatever that means.
And they even flat out said one of them is trying to sign him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, once your deal expires. I'm
Yeah,
sure TNA would be like, please take him now. We don't care. Go ahead. What tampering? Just have him. Like anything to get our name out there, please. So, yeah. But I mean, you would have to you'd have to go pretty far back to find a time in the Impact Attack where we weren't talking up Joe Hendry. So again, they're just just like with Stephanie, slightly behind us, not really, not really ahead of the game, even though they're supposed to be the industry leader. There's no way they didn't know about this person.
No,
But he's only recently been going viral, and they only recently did this thing with them on NXT like a couple weeks ago. So now all of a sudden they're interested. Just like they had to see Stephanie have a match on Forbidden Door to be interested. Which does nothing but tell you that they watch AEW. So there you go.
What Chris Winland said, dude, a Joe Hendry LA Knight like promo battle, that'd be fun to watch.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he says Joe Hendry would take away any shine LA Knight may have left, but I don't know. It's not really the same act. I think they would both coexist very well in that, because they're very different. So they both look like wrestlers anyway. So that's good.
In a weird way, those are two guys I could see feuding with each other and then realizing they have a lot more in common than they have as opposed to being different, and then they form a tag team.
Right. Yeah, LA Knight's a case of right now it seems bad, but there's so much stuff that they have at the top of the card that they're doing, whether it's good or not. It's that's subjective, as Jeff Jarrett would say. Creative is subjective, but LA Knight's just in that spot of wait your turn. He'll get a turn. Plus, he already had a main event match against Roman, so it's not like they never gave him anything. But right now it's kind of back of the line deal. So I wouldn't necessarily count LA Knight out just yet. There's a lot of guys that are primed and ready for a main event spot that they could slide in at any moment, and you always have to be ready for that, just in case the inevitable injury or I don't know, planned wedding take place. So yeah. So that happened. Joe Hendry on Heat Wave, I guess. No proof. Proof scrubbed from the record books so far, but I'm sure somebody has it out there.
Get me the Mandela effect, pal.
That's right. Yeah, it was actually Joe Hendry died in prison. That's what really happened. And we've been thinking that we've been saying his name and he appears, but in actuality, he was in prison with Jacob Fatu and he died.
Fire up, Collider.
Yeah, what else? What else happened? Money in the Bank happened, I guess. I didn't watch that either, so don't really have much to comment on it. I know the results. That's all I have.
Yeah, there wasn't really a whole lot with that.
Well, all right. Well, is there anything else we should touch upon before we get to the stuff and the things?
No, I think it's time for us to make a deep impact. Oh yeah.
Deep impact. All right. Well,
Just like a meteor striking the earth.
that's right. It's either a deep impact or watching this episode really felt like Armageddon, that's for sure. So,
Give me Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck, pal.
yep, get me both those guys. Do you now you have a 1-2 punch of punching up. So, do we want to do impact review punch or do we want to do punch impact review punch?
You know what? Let's do the part one. Kick it off, and then we'll do part two at the end.
Okay, punch sandwich, got it. Well, then in that case, take it away.
All right, and I think this week it'll be an Italian meat sandwich this week.
Hey.
E.
Shoutouts to Media M5.
All right, so we kick this off with our recap and ketchup packet. Make sure to get Heinz.
Ooh, always Heinz. The Carey family approves.
Intro, pyro, and ballyhoo, which is 1 minute. Announce table, 2 minutes, bringing us to 5. Rundown card for tonight. Talk about recent events, give their thoughts. We go to an in-ring with the System and JDC. The System music and entrance with JDC. JDC cuts promo on how he got the job done. When he beat Ryan Nemeth last week, Eddie and Brian go to bat for JDC and try to convince Moose to accept him into the System. Moose says that JDC needs to do one more thing. Before Moose can say what that one thing is, Jeff Hardy and the Nemeth brothers hit the ring with chairs and run the System off. Then we get Santino music and entrance. Santino makes JDC versus Jeff Hardy for the main event.
Oh.
We go to our first commercial break. We go backstage with the System's locker room. They discuss what just happened. Moose tells JDC if he beats Jeff Hardy tonight, he's in, before he excuses himself and says he has to discuss business. Go to match number 1. ABC versus Cody Deaner and Jake Something. ABC music and entrance. Cody Deaner and Jake Something music and entrance. Condensed version of the match we got on the show. And then we go backstage to the first class locker room. We get the business with the International Heavyweight Championship. Francis hypes up Swan for his match with Nick Nemeth. And then Moose enters the locker room. Moose tells First Class that he wants to talk business before he pushes the cameraman out of the room. Then we go to our second commercial break. We go to an in-ring with Jordan Grace, condensed version of what we saw on the show before we go to our second match. Masha Slamovich versus Zaya Brookside. Masha Slamovich music and entrance with Alicia Edwards. Zaya Brookside music and entrance, condensed version of the match on the show. You go to a vignette with Rosemary. She talks about everything and everyone she's lost again before Crazy Steve enters the shot. Steve says he knows someone who can make things right. We go to a video package of a quick history of the X Division. Then they go backstage with Mustafa Ali, Singh, and Secret Service, where Ali and Singh make sure everybody is ready for the X Division State of the Union address. Before we go to our third commercial break, we come back with the secrets of the State of the Union address for the X Division that goes the same as we saw on the show with Mike Bailey running in. You go backstage with the System's locker room. Moose says he's made a deal with First Class, and they're on board. You go to Gorilla with Mike Bailey. We see that same promo we saw on the show. Before we go to the Maclin-Callahan package we saw on the show. Match number 3, Steve Maclin versus Sami Callihan. Steve Maclin, music and entrance. Sami Callihan, music and entrance. Condensed version of the match on the show. They go backstage with First Class. They discuss the deal with Moose in vague terms as they head to the ring. Before we go to our fourth commercial break. Match number 4, Rich Swann versus Nick Nemeth. Rich Swann, music and entrance with AJ Francis. Nick Nemeth, music and entrance. Swann over Dirty after JDC, Edwards, and Myers interfere. We go to a vignette with Gail Kim and Giselle Shaw. Gail compliments Giselle on the progress so far. Gail says that Giselle needs a tougher test. And then next week, Gail has Giselle versus Tasha Steelz booked. We go backstage to the System's locker room where they in First Class celebrate and talk about how they're going to finish off Jeff Hardy tonight. Match number 5, Alan Angels versus Kushida. Alan Angels music and entrance, Kushida music and entrance. Same matches on the show, including the run-ins from Gresham and the refs. Then we go backstage to the System's locker room again. Myers and Edwards hype up JDC before they walk with him towards the ring. Backstage, Jeff Hardy, Nick, and Ryan Nemeth are walking backstage to Gorilla. Jeff hears something from a room he passes before he excuses himself to check it out. Then we go to our fifth and final commercial break. New Japan hype video. Go to the announce table, run down the card for next week's show. And the current Slammiversary card and our main event, match number 6, JDC versus Jeff Hardy. JDC music and entrance with Myers and Edwards. Jeff Hardy music and entrance with Ryan and Nick Nemeth. JDC goes over dirty with interference from Myers and Edwards. Ryan Nemeth. Wait, hold on. Did I messed this up.
It sounded good for a second there because Jeff Hardy was losing.
Yeah, and then it turns, and then the Nemeth brothers jump in and they start. They get the better of the System, and then until Moose runs down, back them up.
Moose charges.
However, you're not going to like this too much.
Oh.
And then Matt Hardy and Rebby run out with weapons and chase, and then they, along with the rest of the House Hardy, chase the System out of the ring. Matt Hardy promo announcing the tag match between Eddie and Alicia versus Matt and Rebby for next week.
Well, show's over. You really did it this time. Nobody runs off a wild moose. Nobody. Yeah. Do you think it's hard for Jeff Hardy to like come out and do his whole like entrance and then look in the ring and see that there's nobody getting beaten up that he needs to save? Like, do you think that confuses him? I'm just wondering. Yeah.
Hold on, Matt. I'm coming, Matt. Just 1 second. Hold on, get this in.
Yep. Oh no, Matt. It's great. All right. Well, that could have been your impact last week. It wasn't though. It was pretty close, but it wasn't. It was less condensed than that in terms of matches, and some other stuff didn't happen the way it was described here. But
in fact, I was able to cut so much match time out that I added vignettes in another match.
That's right, a whole other match. See what you could do. So yeah, and all right. Well, I guess with that.
I mean, I'm sure we're not going to be too sad about less Sami Callihan ring time.
Oh no, we are not. I am not. I am all for that. I'm in favor of so much less. I would personally. I changed my answer to Chris Winland's question. Who do I want to manage? I want to manage Sami Callihan, right out of the business. I'll take care of all the arrangements. I'll help him set up some investments, stocks, bonds, whatever.
Get Bitcoin, pal.
Get some
Deucey,
Bitcoin.
what's Bitcoin?
Yeah, what is that? Let me get some of that. Why do we have to settle for just a bit? Where's whole coin?
Vince, one Bitcoin's like worth like 60 grand right now.
Well, goddamn. So rather than, Master Shoot Theater is on the Russo brand. It's available on the brands every week.
And I want to apologize right now to Stevie Richards doing such a horrible young writer.
Yeah. It's all right. Nobody can be a young writer like Stevie Richards, a proud gay American young writer. Dancing, Steven, you know, he'll show you. You'll see. Um,
Yep, and keeping Vince satisfied on the way back from Saudi Arabia.
my goodness. So yeah, Candace Spaceman says, one day Sammy Callahan will have revenge on the vet and visit his home and yell, "We're taking over everything," and then eat all his food since the vet always made fat jokes. Then the vet will be sorry. Well, joke's on him. I don't keep a lot of food around here. I buy a little bit of food every day so that I don't have to go heavy grocery shopping. So he'll come in and find an empty fridge, and then he'll starve to death. Maybe he would sustain himself on ketchup packets that he found laying around. I probably have a couple of those.
I got plenty here, pal.
I think I have like one of those little butter things they give you when you go to Popeyes or whatever. You can have that. You can try to make that last. It's probably less sustenance than that squid ink that or the octopus ink that Jonathan Gresham has. But anyway, we're getting a little silly. Let's get real serious now because it's time for the Impact review. And of course, we're starting this one with the ketchup packet. So whether it's an alternate universe or whether it's our universe, Earth 616 or whatever it is, it always starts with a ketchup packet. Because there's so many. Ooh, 2 packets. There's so many. There's so many people that have now decided since Joe Hendry has gone viral that they're going to check out TNA. So the Access TV numbers are just through the roof, right? And by the way, as I was watching this episode, whoever uploaded this uploaded the whole 2-hour thing. So I got to see what kind of ads they run during an Access TV airing of Impact by TNA. And let's just say it's quite interesting. I don't think the demo skews young per se. I would have liked to have like made some notes of what commercials they aired in certain break spots, but I just wasn't going to make that kind of effort. I was a little busy. The match that starts our show is Trey Miguel versus Leon Slater. So we have one young up and coming guy versus, it's funny to call Trey Miguel the old guy in this match, but it's basically what he is. So what is he? Is he in his 30s or like how old is Trey Miguel at this point?
I have to guess like late 20s, 30 at the absolute latest.
He ain't no 19. I know that. So
yeah, maybe it's like up and comer versus current.
Right. And yes. And they have a match and they do the things that you do, but it really doesn't matter because the point of this was for a run-in from Charlie Dempsey to come in and beat up those guys and beat up a referee and then get run off by other security and referees. Charlie Dempsey, what's he doing in the Impact Zone? Thoughts on Charlie Dempsey?
Keeping this TNA NXT storyline going.
That's right. The storyline being people just show up places and get into fights, and then the only thing anybody can think to do is to have a wrestling match about it. But we're not quite there yet. Liz says getting Damon Kemp fired. So that is another little piece of news. Damon Kemp, who is actually what's his name? Robert Stevenson, brother of Olympic gold medalist Gable Stevenson. Is it Gabe or Gabe? I always forget. Stevenson.
Gable
Stevenson. Okay, that guy. He's no longer there, and he got his brother this job, and now his brother's no longer there because they probably heard me and Big Ray talking about it, how he got his brother a job and left, kind of like Dolph Ziggler's trying to do right now. and they were like, "Hey, wait a minute. Yeah, he did do that. You're fired, Damon Kemp." And that's probably what happened. In my fun, jokey narrative, that's what happened. Um, but yes, but the reason that that's relevant is that Charlie Dempsey formed a group. It was he, Drew Gulak, Damon Kemp, and Miles Bourne were the no quarter catch crew. Well, now that obviously Drew Gulak has met with his WWE career's untimely end or timely, and his contract expired. Damon Kemp is now gone, so it just really leaves Charlie Dempsey and the deaf kid. So here's Charlie Dempsey running into TNA, but he doesn't have any backup. Maybe he still had backup when they taped this. So that would be funny if they release Damon Kemp in the middle of a storyline where he might show up next week. Uh, way to go, guys. We'll see how that plays out. Um, but Charlie Dempsey, for those of you who don't know, is William Regal's son. Why is he Charlie Dempsey? I have no idea, but that's what they're calling him. But that's the kid. So I assume you were aware of that, Brent. Okay.
Correct. Well, if they wanted to do a thing where, like, okay, he needs backup, how hard would it be to shoot a vignette of him going to Regal and being like, "Hey, I'm kind of going into enemy territory. I'm outnumbered. I know some people who people respect me. I can get you some help."
Okay. And then he just hands him a pair of brass knuckles.
That'd be funny. I like that.
That's my
But
punching up Impact or punching up NXT.
But yeah, like he could, you could do a thing where Regal's like pulls aside two talents, babyface or heel, and sign him with him.
He's like, "Look, I'm afraid my idiot son has gotten himself into some trouble. Would you be a dear and help him get out of it?" Like, that would have to be the conversation. He's like, "I didn't ask you to do this. Why do I have to clean up your mess? I thought I stopped cleaning up after you when you were still in diapers." So yeah. Well, I guess we'll just see where that's going. Well, it goes somewhere a little bit later, but not quite yet, because first Gia has to go knock on Matt Hardy's door, which is apparently he lives in Barbie's dream house or something. Like that was it was like the pinkest room ever behind that door. Like it really was like, you know, Matt is definitely Kenough is how I would put this. And Rebby was there too. So yeah, they did a mini promo here in Barbie's dream house.
I thought it was like a hold on. Are they at the venue or at like House Hardy?
I think they were at the venue, but it just looked like based on the decor.
Yeah, like part of me is wondering, like, okay, if they're at the venue, is there like some sort of like portal behind them that kind of goes to like, okay, step through this door and you're in House Hardy? Like, okay,
Who knows? Um, I really don't know, because usually TNA usually only runs the same few venues, right? Like all around the country, the places they go. So every time they shoot pre-tapes and things, it's like you see the backgrounds, you're like, oh, they must be in such and such place now, because even if you didn't know when they were telling you, but you could tell just because there's certain, you know, certain places where you see that the wood paneling of, you know, whatever Las Vegas, or then you see like the staircase from, you know, whatever Canadian city. Like you just see these same landmarks every so many weeks. They
great
recycle it.
staircase.
um yeah. There you go. Liz knows what I'm talking about. I don't know what the Rascals were talking about. They were yelling at the camera outside the building about Charlie Dempsey coming in and yelling at this cameraman that they challenged Charlie Dempsey to a match next week. I don't know if he had anything to do with it, but he's there holding the camera. So
Yeah, the only real like kind of thing to take away from this was like, they mentioned Zachary Wentz's time in NXT, and that was really about it.
mm-hmm.
That would have like, if to really make it, I think they really should have mentioned like, hey, you decided to jump us, knowing that we have friends where you're at. Okay, we're gonna be watching NXT to see how they retaliate on Tuesday.
They have a friend at NXT. This is the only way to get the Rascals fully reunited. And quite frankly, I don't know what else they're going to do with Wesley because I'm personally sick of him, but I think they're out of ideas too. So, next is the Spitfire 10-minute challenge. I don't think this was specified as a 10-minute challenge last week when fucking Lars was yelling at them to fight it out. I don't think he mentioned anything about 10 minutes or any sort of thing, but that's what it is. They got 10 minutes. Somewhere during the 10 minutes, they show Ryan Ziegler finding his brother Dolph out cold on the stairs. All Peter Griffined out. And that's in picture while you're watching the match.
He was hanging out with Jeff Hardy.
That's right. Dolph can't hold his substances, I guess. So anyway, these two ladies have the friendly babyface match, and it doesn't escalate too far, thank goodness. Like sometimes when we see these matches, Brandon, where the tag team partners are baby faces and they're friends and they have to have a match for some reason, they're like, by the end of it, they're suplexing each other on each other's necks on the apron and floor and everything. And it's like, well, I guess you weren't that good of friends. I'm looking specifically in Speedball and Trent Seven's direction, but yeah, so these two don't do that. And then, of course, predictably, the time limit runs out. And I assume that everybody in the audience was smartened up that this was a 10-minute thing, because I think the announcer, Jade, said it, like 10-minute challenge. And then they could have seen where this was going a mile away, especially because it's in Philly, so it's not like these crowds aren't smart. And then when the match was over and the bell rang, everybody just started like, there was like a mild smattering of boos. Like, what do you mean the time ran? Like,
come on, you guys have been seeing this for the last 30 plus years.
Yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean? You knew the time limit was going to run out. Why would you have a winner? Like, what would be the point of having a winner here? And then, they like, some people start chanting 5 more minutes, and Jody Threat picks up on it and starts making the 5 gesture. And then the crowd lightly starts chanting 5 more minutes. And I was just like, first of all, you guys don't want to see 5 more minutes of this. Second of all, why would you get 5 more minutes in a match that was only 10 minutes? Shouldn't it be 2 more minutes or 1 more minute or something like that? Like, you're not going to have half the length of the entire original match as bonus overtime, but that's just a thing in wrestling. It's just a dorky ass thing that they trot out every once in a while to try to do something different. And it's not different. It's the same. So that right there is dumb. But the fans pretending they even wanted to see either of these women wrestle any matches, let alone against each other for 5 more minutes, was kind of weird. Let's not kid ourselves. But luckily, before we had to deal with any of that, Militia comes down and starts kicking the shit out of both of them. So they spared us from any more of these two having a match. At least that's my view on it. What about you, Brandon? Did you also feel that you were spared and you were done a kindness by not having to watch 5 more minutes?
Yeah, I was legit very thankful when I saw Alicia and Amasha come out and just start attacking. Okay, cool. Thank you. This doesn't have to go any longer.
That's right. Okay. All right, so we're in agreement there. Um, yeah, and there you go. So I guess to be continued on that. And then the next thing. Oh, did you have anything else about the match itself, or any of the other surrounding?
Nah, it was. Again, this is something that could have actually meant something if they would have put more effort into it and made us care about it more. But
What, the former lead singer of Rancid getting in their face and telling them they need to have a match last week wasn't enough for you?
and maybe say it was
That's a
condensed to 7 minutes instead of 10.
7 minute challenge. It's like Harlan Williams' character in Something About Mary. 7 minute abs. Until somebody comes out with 6 minutes. No! Nobody works out in 6 minutes. Okay.
7 stars, Tokyo Dome.
There you go. Speaking of 7 stars, Ali. He's here to talk to Santino. He wants to rescind his championship offer to Mike Bailey, saying, I got carried away in the heat of the moment, and he actually has to earn a title shot. People can't just go around handing out title shots here. So I'd like that one back, please. It's basically what he said. Not like it was ever up to him in the first place, but I do like that for a heel to, to act like they can do something they can't anyways, and then back out of it still. Like, even though this isn't actually binding, I'm still backing out of it. Perfect heel
That
behavior.
stuff like that's where I really like Ali. Like that's where he gets it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, or whoever's coming up with this gets it. So Santino says you're right. So I will give Mike Bailey an opportunity next week to earn a championship match, but I don't think at this time they didn't say what that would mean, and I didn't pay attention later in the show if they said what that would be next week. Uh, did they? Did they
I
say who he might face to earn an opportunity or how that would work?
I do not remember. I'm gonna go Google that.
I don't think they did. I'm just trying to be professional and thorough for what I don't know. While you're looking that up, Mike Santana and Frankie Kazarian get their package shown. Okay, maybe I should rephrase that. They show a no, that's a packet. These guys got a package.
Yeah, I'm trying to save you.
Package. Yeah. They they got their little, highlight video with interviews and everything because they're about to have their qualifying match for that big Slamversary 6-person extravaganza. And then they have the match, and the match is the match, and JDC comes out and he posts Santana, causing him to be busted wide open. Faces a crimson mask. Frankie Kazarian wins by count out. Frankie Kazarian advances to the 6-man match at Slammiversary.
No, I honestly kind of felt this match got Santana over in the fact that it was established Moose sees him as a to be taken out, and if Moose sees him as a threat, well, then that makes him a big deal.
Mm-hmm. And Frankie Kazarian's not a threat. I mean, he's a Kowalski guy. They don't know anything.
Right, he's going to be one of 6.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Yeah, go ahead.
I just pulled up the matches announced for next week. AJ Francis versus Rhino for the TNA Digital Media title. And that X Division is number 1 contenders match is going to be a 3-way Speedball Mike Bailey versus Kushida versus Jonathan Gresham.
Okay, they said none of that on the show. So,
and also too, they I guess we might be on the same wavelength. They announced on the July 11th show, Giselle Shaw versus Tasha Steelz.
Beard stroke. Yeah. on the show they said none of that. They said they said, well, we'll get to it, but AJ is told he has to defend his title. I don't think they said Rhino though. They just told him he has a title defense next week.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, here's a promo from ABC. Now this was a little more like stylized than we've seen. It's like a different look to it, like a different type of vignette. What'd you think of this artistic, stylized choice of vignette for ABC? Do you like it? Kind of felt like a 90s educational video cassette. So,
I
maybe
mean,
it's just in the color choices alone.
Agreed, but I think they make it work. I think that works for them. They kind of understand who they are. They get it. They lean into it, and I think having personalized stuff like that for every talent is great. We need to do more of that.
Yeah, I think we see TNA doing that a little bit, where they try to get, obviously Sammy Callahan, right, has like personalized stuff like that, but
Ash by Elegance has her own personalized lower third.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan Gresham gets short films, so short horror films. So yeah, everybody gets a little some different. So that's good in a way, but your personal taste may vary. Now here's one
that's
where
that's what makes the show great. It makes it like you said, a buffet. You take what you want.
Mm-hmm. A la carte. Now I'm gonna leave this, and I would actually call the health inspector if this was on the menu here, because one, you got Dr. Cadaver back, and anytime he's on TV, it is death. But what he actually does here is he opens a door looking for PCO, and you can hear PCO like yelling or whatever in the background. And he opens his door, and you see Steph DeLander on a table like she's PCO, and he's trying to revive her or whatever. And I think he's like trying to hook something up to her with his heart or something. Like he's got jumper cables, like he's trying to give her a jump off of himself or something. This was, even for PCO related things, this is one of the most absurd things I've ever seen on a wrestling program, because she pops back to life. And beyond anything else, my question was, so what, does she just lay here for a week with nobody trying to do this, or what happened?
Man, who like I don't know. I just feel very absurd trying to make a logic out of this.
Yeah, talk your way out of this one, pal. It's the shits.
I mean, I can guess that maybe that footage was shot, or they could say like, hey, if they would have taken the time to go, hey, this is what happened after the date, and we're airing it now. Okay, that would make sense.
Yes.
At least in that context and timeline and portion of this. But I'm not saying it wouldn't make this whole thing make sense, just that portion of it.
Right. Now, in keeping with the in the spirit of professionalism, I wouldn't want to misrepresent anything here. So to be very, very clear, the reason that Steph DeLander was deceased was because of her just, softly going through a table that time, right? That is the incident that this is supposedly put her in this state. Nothing else happened, like nothing on explosion or anything that I should have known, or she didn't get into a car accident like on her own time, like in real life outside of the wrestling arena. This is based on the one table bump that literally everybody in wrestling does, even women.
She took the exact same bump we see multiple times across multiple companies on a weekly basis.
Right.
That was something I actually kind of threw a fit about with the MJF Daniel Garcia pile driver. It's like, hold on, we're supposed to buy that a second row pile driver is enough to put a dude on a stretcher when we see that spot multiple times and guys kick out and continue the match?
Well, they didn't have to wrestle Will Ospreay first, usually. So he's already hurt. And also MJF's technique on the pile driver is much more scientific. He really knows how to compress the spine in such a way as to, you know, make you a couple of inches shorter.
Get me Pat McAfee and that board idea we stole from that Stevie Richards dude before we shut his channel down.
Yes. Liz says Chelsea went through 2 tables from the top of a ladder inside the ring. She's
Thank
not
you.
undead now.
Thank you.
She's not undead now. Zombie Chelsea. Oh, she's dead. She's just more fabulous than Steph Delander. That's all.
Although if Chelsea came out like in the like on tonight on Raw or next week in zombie makeup to make fun of that'd be hilarious.
No one would know what she's doing, but we would all love it.
Yeah, for those of us who got it, we'd love it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this was well, it's better we just don't talk about it any longer.
Moving right
Santino
along.
Santino is going to put AJ in that title match, but I think he said it was PCO on the show. Actually, I wrote down that he said the title matches with PCO. I wrote that here. Why did I write that here if that's not true? Are these people lying about Rhino, or is this like a format from like a year ago? Did you look up the 2023 July Impact?
No, I did not. Actually, know what? Let me double check.
I mean, you did say that.
No, it's 7/11/2024 because one of the matches listed is Charlie Dempsey versus Zachary Wentz.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the matches
well, perhaps
are 8.
they will get PCO out of the match for some reason. It's like a storyline deal, perhaps. Well, we shall see. Tune in next week. So here we have the fat and thin couple versus the Hardy couple in the mixed tag match. And I would say that, like, you know, Fat Eddie and Thin Lishy sort of balance each other out. You know, like you have like a normal person between them. However, I noted watching this match, like, this is now fatter Eddie. He is even fatter than he's ever been. It's funny that Matt Hardy looks fine with his shirt off and doesn't worry about his physique when he's probably like at least, what, 10 years Eddie Edwards Sr.?
I'm pretty sure he's 50.
Matt is really 50? Yeah.
74.
Yep. So I don't know how old Eddie is, probably early 30s, mid 30s. 10 to 15 years here, and Eddie's getting fatter and will wear a shirt in the ring. Matt Hardy looking as good as ever. That's, you know, something to think about. Ryan Myers is ejected from this match, and the women's referee did the full, like, Dusty Rhodes, like, gonna give you the flip flop and fly here, you're out of here deal.
Randy Anderson would have been proud.
Yeah. Or he would have just face palmed. But who knows?
Oh, dude, Randy Anderson was got to do all the finger guns, like ring the bell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I do. I know, but you know how it is. You know how it is in wrestling with the veterans, Brandon. It's just like, that's my gimmick, kid. You know. But yeah. So Myers gets ejected. And you know, somewhere along, basically the finish is Rebecca Hardy kicks Yeah, she's definitely like Aubrey Edwards is like I could see her being like people like she's gonna be the inspiration for a generation of women to want to don the zebra stripes because yeah, you're gonna see a lot of Aubrey copycats now. Um, but uh, but yeah, so basically the finish is Rebecca kicks Eddie in the balls. She kicks Alicia Edwards in the pussy, and then they each deliver a twist of fate. Matt and Rebecca deliver a twist of fate to each of their respective gender opponents, and that's the end of the match. And then Brian Myers backstage is like bitching to Santino about, you know, all of this. So, thoughts on the match, the finish, the Myers, anything?
I mean, it wasn't horrible. I thought it definitely went too long. This is more of like an attraction that should have probably went half the time. Rebby didn't, I mean, for being out of the ring for as long as she has, she didn't look bad. But of course, she also had 3 other people to carry the match, you know, alongside her. So she was very clearly protected. But what she did didn't look horrible.
Okay. Okay.
It just went too long, and like again, this is more of like an attraction, not a pay-per-view blow off that needs to go 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, also it doesn't seem like anything was blown off. It seems like
Right.
they're gonna go with it some more. Well, you know, hey, whatever. Uh, we'll see. And yeah, the thing where Myers goes to Santino afterwards, it's like one of those things where they directly cut to like backstage following the finish. So interesting transition there. Um, but yeah, and then it's time for the main event, I guess. We get that qualifying match sort of hype video, and then it's Joe Hendry versus Jake something. 2 guys that look like wrestlers and look like they want to beat somebody up, and they both wrestle with the shirt off and in good shape. And yeah,
And the right guy went over.
the right guy went over. The virus himself. Yes, it could only. It's the only logical outcome. Because even Joe, like, if Jake something got in the main event match, yeah, that's nice for him. But nobody will think that Jake something is coming out of that match with the belt. Whereas Joe Hendry adds intrigue of like they might do it, they might pull the trigger now.
Yeah, there's definitely that whole vibe of, okay, we might actually see that flip it to him.
Mm-hmm. And even if you have 0 plans to flip it, that's still what you want to do in the booking. You always want people to not know what you're going to do. So,
Exactly. The point is to get them where they don't know what's going to happen, but they're intrigued enough to find out, where they're willing to pay money to watch it.
that's right. So yeah, Joe Hendry. We believe in Joe Hendry. And then the show finishes with a little bit of you know, that short film, that film school dropout, that sort of, you know, the cinematic. We see the system like leaving in a back alley, getting picked up in their SUV or whatever. And right as JDC's about to get in, Moose is like saying, "Good job taking out, you know, Dolph." And he's like, "Yeah, I didn't do it. I didn't get around to it," or some whatever he said. And Moose is like, "Well, if you didn't do it, then who did?" And then they drive off. Like, okay, that could only be like written as a scene in a movie or TV show. It would never play out like that. Like that's a conversation people would have.
I don't know. I don't know if you missed this part or not, but there was a part where, like they got into the SUV and drove off, and then like wondering who did it. It cuts to a shot of Frankie Kazarian lighting up a cigar.
I'm not there
and
yet. I'm not there
oh,
yet.
okay.
Yeah, but I wanted to address this part
Okay.
first, like just the dialogue between them. You know what I mean? Like, so you're saying they got the who did it in as they're driving off, like that good timing, like you, so you couldn't hear a conversation be finished, or uh,
Like if I want to remember, if I remember correctly, I think it was like as they were talking and as they're getting into the vehicle, and it finished as they were inside.
okay, well, so the thing is, yeah, basically that's the who done it question, right? Who took out Dolph Ziggler, right? And then those,
Right?
so they
Yeah.
go off, and then the camera sort of like you see the camera over like by you see Kazarian. It's cuts to Kazarian, and he's leaning up against like a pole or a fence or something, and he's got his cigar, you know, because he's a cigar man, and he's like Marks. He says Marks. He calls them Marks. He calls the system Marks, which you guys should know by now how I feel about using insider terminology as wrestling, because what does that mean to anybody? Um, you know, what would that mean to somebody that's not a wrestler? Why would they be marks even in the context of pro wrestling? Why are they marks for not knowing who attacked a guy in a stairwell? I don't get it. But anyway, he does that, and then he's like, he says, and then he says like something like who's filming, or what are you filming, or like what he makes a reference to the camera that was shooting the guys that were, you know, the system. He makes a reference as to that camera right before it cuts off, totally ignoring the camera that's like right in his face shooting a close-up profile of Frankie Kazarian with his cigar. He doesn't ask that guy about what he's filming, but he asks the other guy what he's filming. So, and it's just a truly brilliant, genius cinematic choice. He, you know, ignores one fourth wall to break another.
One
If
of
it,
those ideas that I thought, in my opinion, like if I looked at it on paper, I would have said, okay, I like this. But then when it came to the execution, it's like, there we need to tighten some of this stuff up.
yeah, no, what you would do if you want, first of all, you wouldn't do any of this. You'd do something better. But, and, you know, we'll see what you've punched it up to or if you changed it. But what you do is you just shoot him with the same camera, because he's like, you know, you would be shooting him, or you would be shooting the system, you'd be following the, or, you know, well, first of all, okay, let's break this down a little bit. Much like the Rascals earlier, there's just a camera outside already. So what was this guy filming before the system walked out the back door? Who knows? That's not an important question. We don't need to answer these silly questions. But there's clearly a guy just filming an alley, and then the system, you know, walks out of the back door and gets in the SUV right there. So you could theoretically say, oh, well, this guy just saw a vehicle pull up in a back alley and decided maybe there could be a wrestler or another personality, maybe somebody from NXT's in this vehicle. Like, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna post up out here and see what happens, and then you catch this. Well, if that's the case, do that. Set that up that way. But this wasn't that. This was, we're filming a movie, but just like a movie, you're not supposed to ask why the camera's there, because in a movie there is no cameras. It's just what's happening, and then that's the movie, right? There's not a guy in the movie filming the movie. So,
Right. If this were live, there's no way for this to be edited and put together that quick for something like that.
right. And this is a 2 camera shoot. So,
Right. If we want to do this and make it like realish, you could have something be like, hey, we're catching the systems leaving the building. We got a camera back there. There's something going on. Just something.
yeah. So here's what you do. You start with the system in the building. You follow them out the building. Same way the WWE is doing these Goodfellas shots, you know, in on Raw and SmackDown, whatever else, right?
Yep.
Then
These one take shots.
right, do the one take, do the steady cam, follow them out the building, shoot that whole scene right there.
Stuck in the middle with you.
That's right. And then they pull off, and you're shooting them. You're shooting the SUV, and when the SUV pulls off, there's Frankie Kazarian already there, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's the shot.
exactly.
He was obscured by the SUV.
Exactly. It pulls off, and there he is, right there. You never saw him.
And then he's like, Marks. Well, you don't say that either, right? But you could just show him there, and as soon as he pulls, like, that's the thing. And then he, then he's like, immediately he's saying, and he starts walking toward that camera, and he's like, what are you filming? And then that's when the show cuts off, right? Otherwise, why does the show end here? If he's talking to a guy on camera, Frankie Kazarian's talking to a guy off camera. So what's stopping this camera from recording everything that Frankie Kazarian's about to do? Don't you think that's some footage we would like to see? But again, you're just writing a movie scene. You're not trying to write real life, or you're not trying to turn this, this bullshit TV show into anything resembling real. So whatever. But I don't know. I just wanted to break that down just to show, like, the amount of thought that the two of us can come in and put in together and explain how this could have been done. And I'm sure whatever production meetings they had to do this took a lot less time than like the 10 minutes or whatever that we spent on it. They probably spent hours and took a lunch break to try to figure out how they were going to do this bullshit. So, I mean, I don't want to toot our own horn, but toot. Toot, toot.
Well, to be fair, Lab Rat, I'm pretty sure Frankie, he's pretty much either that or Mr. T, and he ain't Mr. T. He ain't gonna be Mr. T.
He ain't even Howlin' Mad Murdoch. He ain't even Face. You know what? Frankie Kazarian is no A-Team member. Can Space says, I like how you ruined Impact for us. We will never watch again. Thank you. You're welcome.
Moose would be great in the A-Team.
A public service that we do here. We watch this bullshit so you don't have to. And I love it when a plan comes together. So, with that being said, that was your Impact episode. I give it 10 thumbs down. And for all the reasons that we said. And the nicest thing that I think or at least that I said about it, was that, ABC's vignette looked a little different. So with that, let us turn it over to the punch number 2, the other slice of bread in the punch sandwich. And let's see how we can improve all this. We've already covered the ending part, I assume. So what do we got for the rest of the show?
Well, let's see. If the bottom slice of this sandwich was just a regular slice of bread, this is toasted with butter.
Ooh, butter. The same packet of butter that Sammy Callahan can eat if he comes over to my house and tries to eat all my food.
In fact, we got 3 ketchup packets.
That's a lot. That's enough for several orders of fries and a burger, maybe.
Plenty of food. Whoop, whoop. All right, so we go to do our recap ketchup packet, intro, pyro and ballyhoo, announce table, rundown card for tonight, talk about recent events and give their thoughts. You go to an in-ring with the system. The system
real quick, Brandon. Sorry, just because I'm in a mood. I don't give a shit about the announcers' thoughts. Fuck their thoughts. All right, continue.
Yeah, they don't really add too much.
They're NXT plants. They're already like here from NXT. They're taking over. This NXT invasion began a long time ago.
I never thought about that. You're right.
Bischoff.
Does that make Matthew Raywalt the Dusty Rhodes?
That's right, baby.
All right, then we go to an in-ring with the system. The system music and entrance. Moose says that JDC has been successful in everything asked of him, so he's now officially part of the system. Moose gives JDC his first assignment as an official member. He says he has someone else he wants taken out by the end of the night. Matt Hardy music and entrance, Hardy and the Nemeth brothers. Matt reminds everyone of the mixed tag match main event. Back and forth that leads to brawl with the baby faces on top, and then First Class runs in to help the system. The system and First Class leave the baby faces laying.
Take that, baby faces.
So we go to our first commercial break. We come backstage with the system's locker room. Moose congratulates the system in First Class, and Moose reminds everyone that the night is not over. Match number 1, Trey Miguel versus Leon Slater. Trey Miguel music and entrance with Zachary Wentz. Leon Slater music and entrance, condensed version of the match on the show. And then with Dempsey running in and laying everyone out, we go backstage to the trainer's room. Gia knocks on the door to see House Hardy and the Nemeth brothers inside. Gia asks for their status. Matt Hardy says they're a little banged up, but they're bringing the fight tonight. We go backstage with the Rascals. Same promo is on the show. Trey mentions that they have friends in NXT, and then those friends will see Dempsey this coming Tuesday. We go backstage to the Spitfire locker room. Lars Fredrickson reminds Spitfire this match is for them to feel each other out and to learn more about each other. And we go to our second commercial break. We go backstage to see Nick Nemeth laid out at the bottom of the stairwell while Ryan checks on him and calls for help. Match number 2, Jody Threat versus Danny Luna. Jody Threat and Danny Luna music and entrance together. Same as on the show, but, of course, we're going to do the match a little bit differently. But we're starting to still have the, the overtime ended immediately with Masha and Alicia running out and attacking them. We're going to go backstage with Ali, Singh, and Santino. The same thing we got on the show. We get a package of Santana and Kazarian that we got on the show. And then we go backstage to the System's locker room. Moose tells Dango that it's time for him to carry out his assignment. Dango says he's on it. And we go to our third commercial break. Come back with the ABC vignette. Same we saw on the show. Match number 3, Mike Santana versus Frankie Kazarian. Frankie Kazarian music and entrance. Mike Santana music and entrance. Condensed version of the match on the show with JDC running out and busting open Mike Santana and eliminating him from the match. We do a recap of PCO. It's Steph DeLander with their date interrupted by First Class. Same on the show. Pre-tape. PCO with the doctors and Steph DeLander. Of course, with the punch-ups that we would have made. Other than that, same on the show. Pre-tape. First Class and Santino. Same as on the show with Santino warning First Class about their association with the system. Then we go to the package of Joe Hendry and Jake Something before we go to our fourth commercial break. We come back with match number 4, Jake Something versus Joe Hendry. Jake Something music and entrance. Joe Hendry music and entrance. Condensed version of the match on the show. Then they go backstage to the System's locker room. Moose is not happy that Hendry advanced. JDC says he thinks Santino books Jake Something and Joe Hendry against each other to guarantee that one of them makes it to the 6-way. Basically like, okay, one of these two is Santino's pick, so he puts them against each other, so at least one of them makes it. Then they go backstage to Myers, Edwards, ABC. Myers and Edwards, ABC confronts them before a brawl breaks out. Then you go to match number 5, which was built, or at least, I guess we could say built, even though it was a 1-week build. Match number 5, Tasha Steelz versus Giselle Shaw. Tasha Steelz music and entrance. Giselle Shaw music and entrance with Gail Kim. Tasha Steelz over dirty when Giselle has the opportunity to cheat and go dirty and declines. Post-match, Gail consoles Giselle and says that you did the right thing and you passed the test.
I knew you would lose, but you lost the right way.
well, the idea is kind of like Gail's trying to teach humility and and doing things honorably and honestly, and even if that means taking the L.
Right. No, I get that part, but it's also funny if you look at it in a realistic context of like, well, what if I just won straight up? Like, what if I just beat Tasha Steelz with a small package in 2 seconds? And what test was that? So.
Right. I would like to believe that Gail Kim is smart enough and clever enough to be like set up something where like, okay, you taking this 1 step backwards will lead to you taking 3 steps forward. That's where my mind's going.
No, yeah. Again, I understand that aspect of it.
And then we go backstage to Gia with Matt and Rebby Hardy. We get the same promo we saw on the show before we go to our fifth and final commercial break.
Same Barbie Dreamhouse.
Same Barbie Dreamhouse. Well, it's going to look more like a portal to House Hardy.
Ah.
Okay. Trying to keep with the gimmick. And then we go to our New Japan hype video. Go to the announce table rundown card for next week's show. Rundown current card for Slammiversary. Match number 6 in our main event. Eddie and Alicia Edwards versus, or as Matt Hardy referred to him, Edward Edwards and Alicia Edwards versus Matt Hardy and Rebby Hardy. Eddie and Alicia Edwards music and entrance. Matt Hardy and Rebby Hardy music and entrance. Condensed version of match on the show. Ends in a brawl where the System and First Class leave House Hardy and Ryan Nemeth laying before we head to the back. And we get the same vignette that we close the show out with, but of course we make the changes that we talked about. Or do it as the live shot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Frankie doesn't say marks. Well, there you go. That is definitely a version of the show that we got. Seems punched up. There's some stuff I would have rather seen, like that appeared in Brandon's version of the show than what we actually saw.
Like a lot more moose.
Yeah, a lot more moves. I would also, in order to just make sure we have enough room for extra moose, probably just scrap the whole PCO Steph thing. Like, we're just going to drop that angle just the same way WWE drops angles sometimes. And just,
or maybe a 30-second blurb like, hey, on BTI. And then it might drive more viewers to BTI. Like, hey, you might, if you don't watch this, you miss this. That builds the main show.
Yep. Well, that's kind of what AEW has been trying to do more with Dynamite, Collision, and Rampage, the trio of shows. And most people are like, I don't want to watch all that. So I guess there is a line. But TNA's whole thing has crossed the line. So, watch the other shows. Apparently, Rhea Ripley has arrived.
Hey, I'll give WWE credit. They at least kind of threaded that throughout the entire show and included it in the main event. So credit to him for that one.
Mommy is pissed. Not so pissed that she was going to come back early to beat up Liv Morgan or was going to go to Liv Morgan's house or anything like that. But
yeah, she's too busy getting married to Buddy Murphy.
Yeah. No, we're not going to, one bad wing and one bad wheel, and they still made it down the aisle. They did all right. That'd been so good if like she went to put her to interlock her arms with Buddy, and she's like, ow. Hey, well, there you go. So there you go. Live Raw updates here. The return of Mommy. The what's her nickname? She has had like several.
The Eradicator.
The Eradicator. That's right. Damn it. The Eradicator. Even though most of the people that she's wrestled are still here. Not eradicated one bit. But it sounds good. Eradicator is the kind of nickname you give a guy or a girl as a rib after they've like hurt a bunch of people to the point that they don't work for the company anymore. Like, I would think maybe Nia Jax would be a better candidate for the Eradicator. Or you could just apply it to like the food that's in front of her. Or like Eddie Edwards could be the Eradicator, or Sami Callihan too. Just in reference to foods. So
that's a good one.
Fridge Holland. Yeah, Ridge Holland could have been the Eradicator. even though, Ridge Holland was getting hurt a lot of the time. Ricochet broke Ridge Holland's nose. I believe it was Oni Lorcan cross-bodied him and he broke his leg. So that was nobody's fault there. His leg just broke. It was gross.
Shit happens, pal.
Yeah, it ain't ballet. Ballet takes real talent and dedication.
I mean, shit, you see me? I tore both quads just sliding into the ring and still delivered an announcement.
That's right. Sonic says Eradicator was the name of that fake Superman when Clark died. Correction, Sonic. It was the name of one of 3 or 4 fake Supermen. But yeah. So, well, that just about does it for this episode of the Impact Attack. I guess we should probably, if we did a good enough job, they might want to see what else we're up to. Just tell them where they can do that.
Plugs, hair plugs, hair plugs, hair plugs.
I know. What movie, guys? What movie? Come on. But yeah. So tell the people where they can find you, Brandon.
I am currently on Twitter, or as the kids call it these days, the X, at LG Brandon Whoop. I am also on Twitch once I finally get all of that shit settled in. We're still kind of dealing with some issues with that, but it's twitch.tv/LG Brandon Whoop Whoop. And I'm also on Substack at HMG Brandon. Schedule for this week, we're going to be doing an NXT watch along tomorrow night. We got AEW on Wednesday and then SmackDown on Friday. And we're going to be doing a TNA bonus watch along on Sunday night.
Ooh. Busy schedule. Yes, lots of wrestling. So, that being said, you can find me at Opinion Haver on all social media platforms. You can check me out to cover the NXT portion of this promotional crossover with Big Ray every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, live on YouTube and Twitch with the Next Level Wrestling review. We'll see what happens to Charlie Dempsey or Damon Kemp or whatever else is going on at the time, or Joe Hendry. Will there be Joe Hendry? Will someone say his name? Will he appear? We have to believe. But that's what we'll be doing that. If you want to check out the aforementioned AEW, perhaps, then you might want to stop over on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern to see me and Jimmy T sift through the wreckage, where we talk about Collision and all the goings on there. The going theme with Collision, Brandon, is that they've seemed to have gotten the sort of the format of the show down, and they're doing a lot more condensing of things. Now the only question is, who of the talent that they have do they plug into those spots, and do we care to see that person? So that's where the a la carte menu really gets put to the test. Like, what are they offering and what are we taking? And sometimes it's slim pickings. Other times it's an embarrassment of riches, or whatever mixed metaphor you want to make. But
or some night you're just loading up your plate with nothing but fried chicken and fries.
That's right. So you could hear us talk all about that. Then you can talk about, let's see, what else do we do? Oh, you know what else? If you guys want to hear somebody talk about some things, there's a guy who, I'm a guy of this guy, but Rip Rogers has his own YouTube Q&A session. A little bit of chit chat, a little bit of Q&A with Von Lilas. But here's what you do. You go every 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern at their concrete time, except when it's not. Like this past Friday when it was 11 a.m. Eastern or Pacific and 2 p.m. Eastern. But never mind that. Because if you subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell, you'll know when they go live. It don't matter whether the time is concrete or not. And then what happens then is once they start doing the show, you go in the chat and just like Chris Winland did here, you ask Rip Rogers a question. and he's been doing it forever. So there's a lot of questions that you could ask that he could answer, and that's your opportunity. So if you're interested in anything like that, check that out. Don't miss that opportunity every Friday. And if you want to check out a guy that's also been doing it forever and never stops and always finding new ways to reinvent himself. No, I'm not talking about the learning tree. I'm talking about Stevie Richards, the great Stevie Richards, who has the oddly titled The Stevie Richards Show. I don't know. It's usually better to name something where people know what they're getting, but he went with something crazy. So, kind of hard to find, but The Stevie Richards Show, it's got 2 episodes down, another one coming up. I believe that's also usually the video version on Friday. So he and his co-host James kind of take deep dives into sort of like Brandon and I gloss over the news, and we probably didn't talk about something that was on your guys' minds tonight, but they will talk about things for several minutes. And they'll also break up these topics into bite-sized topics also on the YouTube channel. So if you just want to hear, what Stevie has to say on these certain topics, you could check out the smaller videos that are just like clips from the full length show. It's usually about 2 hours. So, and there's a podcast form too. So you can listen on the go if you don't have the YouTube premium or whatever. You know how YouTube is, like when you if you don't have YouTube premium and then you turn your phone off or whatever and it stops playing the video. Well, if you're like that, you can just get the podcast version and listen to that, even though they make sure to say it's not a podcast. But yeah, check it out. I like the show. It's good to hear Stevie talk about more than just Raw and SmackDown and then the same old bullshit. So like to hear his real thoughts because he's a very thoughtful, insightful guy. And he dances. Well, he used to. And then finally, of course, my man JTG, he's got his own YouTube channel going, and he's trying to get that money. Yeah. So if you want to help him out, go check out his channel. Like, subscribe, all those things, notification bells or whatever. He's got his videos that he puts up on there, real bite size, real easy to consume. You could catch up on everything you missed in probably less than 20 minutes if you watch all the videos right now. So give him a look, and I believe that is just about it. So I can't think of anything else. I hate to leave you all, but I gotta go. I've had these headphones on all day, one form or another. So with that, for Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't have a sign off.